And this episode was brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook and app. Not only is it safe, but it is secure, and most importantly, Deke, it is reliable. And for all those first-time users out there, because we all were first-time users at one point in our life, if you use the promo code MOATS, that's a simple code, right, MOATS?
Yeah, easy to remember.
Can't forget that. If you use the promo code MOATS, though, you will receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So, Deke, stop wasting time. Let them know that they need to download the app and use the promo code.
Me? You want me to do it?
Yeah, let them know.
You're the more enthusiastic person.
Just tell them, say you download it.
Come on, guys. Download it.
You heard the man. Download the app, use the promo code, and get an opportunity to make a little money. All right. My question is for Moats because I already know Deke's answer.
Oh, man.
Dang. Oh, now I'm reading it right. Okay. Does Ben's 500-yard, 4-touchdown game mean nothing because of the picks? And if so, do you think it's time to move on? Cam, first off, I do think, it was impressive, but at the same time, it was disheartening. Ben's performance last night is the equivalent, to my eyes, Jameis Winston's performance on the season a year ago, where he led the league in passing and had 30 touchdowns, 30 picks, right? How do you want to spin it? Do you want to talk about the 30 touchdowns and the 5,000 yards passing? Because remember, some people wanted to talk about that, but then a large portion of people, especially when we talked about him potentially coming here to Pittsburgh, we didn't focus on the positive. We focused on what? The 30 interceptions. So for me, I just need to know who I'm talking to. Are we talking to somebody that wants to highlight the positives, the 400 yards passing, the 47 completions for a playoff record, the 4 touchdowns? Or are we going to talk about the 68 attempts, the 4 interceptions, the costly turnovers at very timely points? That's why for me, it's like it was great and bad all at the same time. But at the same time, that's why we're not putting it all on Ben either, because it was multiple variables. But his game was very inconsistent. At times he looked bad. At times he looked really good. Just depends on what you want to focus on. So for me, in terms of moving on from him, that's the tough part, right? Because you got a glimpse of it once again in the second half. You got it just enough. And the problem also is this: we're starting to run into this territory of, and I don't want to say it's not out of disrespect, but it's more so it's becoming more flirtatious with Phillip Rivers versus Aaron Rodgers, meaning this. Phillip Rivers is still a good quarterback. We saw that in the Bills game, right? But we also saw how inconsistent he can get at times, right? He can get really hot or he can be really cold, right? Turnovers, just bad passes, whatever it may be. Whereas a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you don't see as much fluctuation. It's a lot more of just greatness. You don't have to worry about the untimely or back-breaking turnovers. Right now with Ben, especially in the second half of the season, we started to see a lot more Phillip Rivers style where he would heat up at times. But for the large majority of it, we would still be waiting like, man, is this about to happen? And then something bad would happen, whether it's him struggling with the deep ball, whether it was the turnovers and things like that. So that's why for me, I don't personally know if you move on from him just yet, because you got to decide if you're going to move on from him. Are you believing that Mason's the guy? Is there a guy that you want to make a move for in terms of trading? I know people talk to Deshaun Watson. For that to happen, it's going to take a ton of assets, a ton of that, and potentially some players. But in terms of other free agents, maybe Sam Darnold, right? Carson Wentz. There's multiple quarterbacks out here that you can go through free agency for, or potentially drafting one. Those are all the decisions that have to be made, though, if you move on from Ben. Now, you can still make those decisions if Ben is here, but it's less pressing because you already have the quarterback going into next season. But you got to ask yourself, are we going rebuild next year or is it last dance next year? Because that's the big difference, right? If we go last dance, you're bringing the full band back, right? You might make 1 or 2 moves, but you're not making mass overhauls. You're not changing coordinators. You're not changing quarterbacks. You're not changing, multiple mega spots. You're going to ride it out, right? You're going to say, hey, man, this is our last hurrah. If it works out, great. If not, we already know the band is broken up. Or you could just say, man, we're going to rebuild this thing now. We feel like we're kind of in a rut. We're complacent. We don't think we're going to improve much further than where we're at right now. So let's just blow it up, switch out quarterbacks, switch O-linemen, get Dotson out there, Fowler out there. We're going to move this guy over here, and you go that route. That's going to be on Colbert, though. That's the thing, man. I personally, if it's my decision, number one, I'm talking to Ben. I got to see how he feels. If he feels like he's healthy, he feels like he can still come back, I like that a lot. Number two, I got to give him the tough decision. He can come back, but we got to talk about the contract. I'm not extending you. This will be your one and done, but you're going to have to do it at some type of finagled, prorated, cap-friendly situation to make this thing go, because what I've seen from you this year, I'm not willing to go next year for $41 million on the cap with that. That's me personally.
Can you do 41 and run it back for the most part?
This is the issue with the 41. I mean, you can, but think about the player. So, you're going to pay TJ Watt, right? So when you talk about Ben playing under the 41, this is how this affects us. We said Juju, right? He's up for a contract. What does that look like? We know that, hey, he's gonna still command some money, a good amount of money. We already talked about TJ Watt. So we got Juju, TJ, James Conner's another one, right? Depending on what you want to do with him, because if you let him leave, I mean, are you confident going forward with Benny Snell and McFarland and Jalen Samuels? Not a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. So now you got to look to replace that. Also, defensively, Mike Hilton and Cam Sutton, both of those guys got to get paid now. And both of them played at high levels and showed different things about their game. Mike Hilton more so showed that he could cover at a higher level. Cam Sutton showed that he's not just a slot corner, but he could play outside as a number one corner as well. So those are 5 guys just off the top of our head. And that doesn't even include Bud Dupree, who we already feel is a foregone conclusion. It's just not enough money available to him. So those 5 are directly impacted by that 41 that Ben is going to be playing under if he plays under that next year. So that's why, for me, those 5 guys that I just named are a lot more valuable at this stage in their career than Ben is for 41 for 1 year. Because if any of those 5 guys leave, think about how just pivotal they were to the success that we had this year, right? If you don't have that group, and these are young players, guys that are going to be here for the next 5 years potentially, could be even longer if they can, stay healthy, continue playing at a high level. Whereas Ben, even you said it, right? Man, I would love him best case another 2 to 3 years. That's best case. Absolute best case. Whereas those younger guys, they're going to be here for the next 2 to 3 years if you get them under contract. And it doesn't even have to be a best case scenario. And they're all going to be a lot cheaper as well. So that's why, for me, I just don't see how you have him play under that 41. Now, I don't know how you go about it. I would have to look at the details on it. I have seen scenarios where they would just say, hey, look, you're technically not cut, but they tear up the last year of your deal, right? Just tear that contract up and just sign you to a new deal.
Yeah.
So they could literally tear up that last year. You take the 19 mil cap hit, and then however you want to negotiate that new contract, 1 year deal where he still have a good salary, whether it's through, like I said, low base salary, nice signing bonus, so he's still compensated the right way, but it doesn't kill you from a cap standpoint. And in that way, you can make the moves. But I don't know all the ramifications that go with them doing that. I do know that if they cut him, though, his cap hit does decrease halfway. And that is huge. When you talk about the 5 guys I named, that 21 million that will be remaining, yeah, you'll be able to get a good amount of those guys. You might be able to get them all under there, depending on the
how you want to
structure it. Yeah, front loaded versus back loaded. So you could just see why this is such a big decision.
Well, and it seemed like Ben was open to it.
Yeah, it definitely
in his
did.
Interview or his press conference afterwards.
It definitely did.
Dude, my thing, I know he said this question wasn't for me, but I mean, I think you hit it on a little bit earlier in your answer, though. Like, dude, you saw throws. You're like,
right.
I think there's only 5 guys that can make some of these throws yesterday. Dude, you've talked about before the deep pass from one side to the opposite end of the field.
Dude.
Like, he had a couple of those throws. I'm like, dude, you can't make these throws.
The throws that were impressing me the most, him hitting the honey hole in cover 2, because we broke this down, right? We did a little film session and we talked about how when Mason was out there last week, they played cover 3, cover 4, but they would lock up the backside corner one-on-one. And that's how Claypool and Deontay Johnson were really able to feast on their corners. And we were saying, man, if they play that type of coverage against 7 should light them up. They didn't really give it to him. 7 saw man-to-man or man concepts on the perimeter maybe once or twice, and the one was when he hit Claypool for the touchdown. So anytime he got it, he took advantage of it. But they ran a lot of cover 2, a lot of Tampa 2, very similar in terms of safeties over top. You got your corners that are going to be super aggressive, but they don't have to run with these guys vertical. You love it because, number 1, it disrupts the timing, but number 2, you always have safety help over top. And those corners, they weren't their premier corners. They were the backups. So that's why you operate like that. But to see Ben still be able to hit those spots, that to me was impressive. But that's why I said he's still kind of in that Phillip Rivers range right now, because of in that same game.
But here's my thing with the Phillip Rivers. Like, he's got way more talent still, I think, and arm talent.
See, you say that, but I feel like the people that knocked Phillip Rivers' arm, I don't feel like that was the case this year. When I watched him, I thought his arm looked good. I thought his decision making was bad, and I thought at times his accuracy was off. But that's the same thing we said about Ben this year. Think about how many times we talked about the deep ball and how we would throw a pep rally for one deep ball every couple of games. Whereas then we saw the young kid Mason come in and he hit multiple deep balls in one game. That's the difference. And it's not saying that Ben isn't good anymore. That's the thing too. I feel like people, when we talk about Ben's contract in this situation, they think if we're talking about doing any movement with Ben, it's because he's not good. We're not saying he's not good. Good is fine. But $41 million cap hit, you don't have that for good players. Think about Vince Williams. We love Vince. If Vince cap hit was $20 million, you think we would want Vince out there? Not a chance. And that's my dog. But that's the difference. When you talk in a salary cap league, when you have to construct your roster, that's what changes things. It's less about if this guy is still good or not. Is his productivity worth what his cap hit will be? Because when you look at the other guys who have higher cap hits like that, their productivity is a little bit different. The expectation around them, how they carry their team is a lot different. It's not as much of a roller coaster. It's not as much ebb and flow. It's a steadier, calming thing, something that we were accustomed to Ben a couple of years ago. But at this stage, obviously he's a little bit older and coming back from a surgery. It's expected. But that's what makes it a little bit different because of how much it's going to cost.
Well, here's what I wanted to say, though, too. I mean, you look at Rodgers last year, you look at Brady this year. You can even talk about Wilson this year getting blown out in the playoffs. That type of stuff happens. I think what's frustrating to me is hearing people say, like, oh, man, he's washed. Now, if you want to question...
No, he's not washed.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to question his decision-making or how he's played over these past, 4 or 5 games, that's fine. But, like, he is not washed at all. No. And this is what I think. Like, you saw with Brady with New England last year. You saw with Rodgers. I don't know how much Packers really reconstructed their roster, though.
They didn't.
If he's just playing better.
Well, so even last year, think about this. They said he played bad. He still had 27 touchdowns. I think 5 or 6 interceptions, and he still threw for 40. It was high 4,000s for passing. He still had a really good year. It just wasn't the freaky astronomical.
Well, yeah, years. and that's kind of my thing. I wonder what Packers people were talking about with Rodgers last year. Obviously, they drafted Love, but like after that San Fran game, like, dude, that's how they went out there was embarrassing. I mean, obviously we went out bad this year, but like think, even last year with Rodgers,
I think the difference is this: you're solely focusing on this playoff. Not even you, but a lot of people are too. They focus solely on this one game and make that knee-jerk decision. To me, when I speak on Ben, it's more so full body of work. It's less about records. It's more so when we watched him, what did we see from him? Not the drops. I don't care about the drops. The drops were still good passes. Some of the misses, though, were bad misses. Some of the interceptions were bad interceptions. And that showed up a lot more this year than we have ever seen from Ben. And to me...
But only 10 picks, though, throughout the year.
Yeah, and that's no different than they say, well, we only had how many sacks all throughout the year? Man, the offensive line was great. If you want to go that route...
But if anyone watched the game, we were getting the ball out quick to deter that.
But this is what I'm saying, though. So when you talk about the 10 picks, my rebuttal is, how many times have we seen picks get dropped this year? We saw multiple, at least one get dropped last night.
You got touchdowns and continuing catches get dropped as well.
No. You brought up the stat part. I'm just simply showing you why you can't just solely say a stat as if that's the gospel, because it's other variables. The same way you just came back with another variable, right? So when I said in terms of, man, him struggling with seeing the field, him struggling with some of the turnovers, and you said we only had 10 picks. I'm just telling you, it's more than just the stats.
This is what I wanted to say. I think Brady's actually a good comparison because he did not look right with the Patriots last year. But from everything I saw, I'm like, dude, I think the talent's still there. Like he just needs the right pieces around him, whatever it is. And now he's down in the box. He looks amazing. Yeah. So with us, can we get a running game going? Can we get our offensive line improved? And I think we can win games next year.
Fair enough.
That's what I mean.
But I think the difference too is this though. With Brady last year, and I mean, people definitely were getting on him. You talked about it. The thing to me was this. I thought we're still agreeing that he didn't have help. Not arm issues. It was help issues.
We don't have help on the line and running game. Though.
No.
I think that's a big part of winning games.
No, I'm with you on that, right? Yeah, Ben does need help. Sure. But we never talked about Brady in terms of deep ball accuracy.
I don't know what deep balls he was throwing, though. Get
out of here. Stop it, bro. Stop it.
Last year, who was he throwing to last year?
Stop it, bro. We're not doing that.
What do you mean?
Come on, bro.
Wait,
I'm just simply saying.
You're right. I don't know if we talked about it because I don't know what he was throwing deep last year. I don't know who his receivers. They were bad. His accuracy
was never an issue, though. That's all I'm saying. No one, and that's why I said.
I think people were questioning just if he had it or not, though.
Just hear me. Are you gonna listen?
I'm hearing you out.
No, you're not. You're defensive right now.
No,
you know how you get. I've already showed you this. I said whenever we get to talking about Ben and we got to critique.
No, I feel like it's a good conversation.
It is, but you're definitely getting defensive because it's like I let you talk, and then when I'm about to talk, as soon as I say one thing, you're like, whoa.
I'll let you talk.
That's all I'm saying, man. So you keep bringing up the Brady analogy, and I do like it because they are similar. Both cases, yes, a run game was needed in both places. And talking about Brady in New England, not Brady in Tampa. So yes, both places need running game. In terms of the receiving help, nah, Ben's receiving core compared to what Brady had up in New England, night and day. If Brady had these receivers that we had in New England, he never leaves out of New England. Let's be real about that, right? He was throwing in N'Keal Harry, who was struggling as a rookie, who had missed a good portion of the year. Remember, they had Josh Gordon. He ended up not coming back because of the whole mental health and the substance abuse stuff. So all those variables were there as well, right? Now, granted, we just said that the difference was he had, in terms of Brady, he had the receivers and running game issues. Whereas here in Pittsburgh, we had the receivers.
Hold on. My point is, I think his running game was way better. We were the last. I mean, I think their line was a little bit better too. Like we were bad, dude. And that's it. That's all I want to say.
You sure?
Yeah, that's
you sure? Because you said that a couple minutes ago too,
dude.
And then you said it before that too. You just let me know, man. Anytime we talk about Ben, you get defensive, bro.
Defense too was better, but
you see how defensive you get
at the end of the year.
Have you noticed this though, right? Whenever we talk about Ben, what do? You deflect. You're deflecting.
No,
you just said defense. You done talked about running game. You done talked about O-line. You point to everybody else.
No,
we can't acknowledge that he was struggling on the deep ball.
I said Ben played bad. I said Ben played not. I'm not going to say bad in total, but yeah, he had a bad game yesterday. Like
you got it, bro. I guess I didn't even care about the game yesterday. I'm talking about full body work this season.
But that's why I'm talking about why I think we could run it back with him and do good next year. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey man, to each his own, man.
Yeah, that's all.
You got it, bro. I ain't even messing with it.
All right.
Because every time I try to break it down, man, like I said, bro, you get real defensive about it, bro. Think about how many times I've just tried to say a point about the difference between the two, and you won't let that get out there, man. As soon as it looks like it's not going to be in favor for your guy.
Wait, what do you mean? But I don't know. I'm just making my point. I thought Brady needed help. That was it. And like I think their running game was better than our running game.
You think their running game was better than our running game? I think
ours was dead last.
Listen, all I say is this: was their running game compared to our running game? Was that gap the same as our receiving core?
I think Brady looked worse than Ben last year.
All right. You got it, bro.
I think he did.
You got it, bro. If you want to. I don't think so.
Okay.
I personally don't. I think Brady has never looked as bad as Ben looked on the deep ball accuracy this year. I think Ben on throws 30 yards or further this year was absolutely terrible. Wait a minute. No. That's the biggest thing. I think every time we had success on the explosive plays, we said, man, it was more so him just throwing it out there, and it wasn't a lot of pinpoint. It was more so just hoping and praying, and we can see the difference in certain games where one time he'll throw that ball and it's 5 yards inside, the other time he throws it, it's 5 yards outside. Like he's just slinging it out there. It wasn't a lot of consistency with it, which was the biggest reason why people criticized him so much this year, which is why we had to resort to what? Quicker passing attack, short to underneath stuff. We said he was getting protected. He wasn't getting sacked. You said it yourself, 10 sacks for the whole year. So we had time, even though we talked about, oh man, it was 2 seconds. I got it, all that. But we did see when they wanted to take shots, they could protect him. Yesterday, as bad as it was, did he get sacked? Yeah, he had, I think, 4 QB hits yesterday on him. No sacks though. So he still was getting time. But to me, the thing is this, with Brady, we never called into question his accuracy. That's always been there. Even when he went to Tampa, it was there. For Ben, this year, from start to finish, not just yesterday, we're not even talking the interceptions. Just think about how many deep balls we saw him connect on. How many? It wasn't a lot. We had explosive plays, but it wasn't a lot of deep ball throws connecting on him. And that to me is the biggest difference. That's what separates him from Aaron Rodgers, from Drew Brees, from Tom Brady. Those guys are still connecting on those deeper passes. Whereas Ben, we talked about, it's not even a secret this year. That's why I was surprised. You're like, bro, what are we talking about here? He has not hit consistently on deep balls this season. And if you're going to pay a guy 41, or not even pay him, but if he's going to have a $41 million cap hit, you want him to be able to connect on deep balls consistently, not once in a blue moon and hoping and wishing and praying. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, but you're talking specifically about the deep balls. What if I'm saying like I think I could come back for maybe a multitude of reasons. You know,
that's the difference.
Not having the training camp, all that type of stuff, coming off the elbow.
Training camp, who cares about practice?
I'm just saying, dude. I mean, dude, your first season coming off all this stuff. I don't know. Maybe
he said it's the best he's ever felt.
But I don't know. Maybe in terms of like rhythm, whatever it is, dude. I just think for a multitude of reasons, I think he could come back.
It's the best he ever felt, though.
I think he could come back. Dude.
So he's gonna feel better than the best he ever felt.
He might.
He said it's the best he's ever felt.
He might, just because the rhythm's going to be back now.
Man, if anything, I'm like, can I get the old elbow that had the jankiness? Because he said he's been dealing with, he had discomfort throughout his whole time, or a long portion of his career, right? Well, to me, I like the accuracy better when he had the discomfort. With this quote unquote new arm, the accuracy downfield is not there consistently. So can I get the old one? Throw the little things back in there.
We'll see, man. And that's the thing. Is it going to come back? I do. I just think the talent and all that type of stuff's still there.
I guess
it's just that little feel
this
thing.
Year. What did you see this year that makes you truly not just a feel thing? Like, what did you see that was tangible?
Because I think the arm talent's legitimately there.
Okay,
that's my thing.
Right.
So it's like, could the rhythm come back because this is his first year back from all this stuff?
See, I think that's
now
where
he's gonna have the training camp. I guess that's what it is.
Because I don't think rhythm was the biggest issue for him. Like I said, for me, the downfield throws, that's the biggest issue, and that's what really forced them to play that short to intermediate passing attack and have to dink and dunk because he wasn't consistently hitting. And if he can't do that again, it's gonna look the exact same as it looked this year. So that's why for me, I'm like, I don't want to have a $41 million cap hit to have a rerun of what we just saw with 7. I don't want to see that. Not for 41. If it's at 35, if it's at 32, different. But 41, I don't want that for 41.
I'm just thinking a combination of that. If we can get the line right, we get a running game, dude. Like,
I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying. But I feel like those are all minor issues to the big issue. The big issue, we can't open it up. If we can't throw it consistently downfield, teams, you saw the second half of the year how teams played us, right? They said, man, we're not worried about you beating us deep. We're going to challenge you and make you have to run the ball and make you have to execute in this short to intermediate because we haven't seen you consistently beat us deep. We haven't seen that from you. That's how they play. A lot of, man, Cincinnati played us that way. Washington played us that way. Buffalo played us that way. We could go on a list of teams. That was the blueprint. So until we see that consistently change, I don't personally feel that it's going to be any different next year.
Sure. Like, if that would be a key thing to improve for sure. But I do think the line in the running game is a big part of that as well.
Hey, man, fair enough.
But I do think it could come back for sure. I definitely do. Because I have
my doubts. I don't think it's coming back.
Because I think the arm strength is there. And when I talk about rhythm, I'm just talking about getting back into the rhythm of things. Your first season back, now doing the training camp, all the off-season stuff. True. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe a timing thing with the receivers too. I don't know specifically. Like, you could answer that.
I mean, you talk about the receivers. They had a good report. The timing didn't look off to me. I thought the drops from the receivers were the bigger issue, and that's a different conversation. And that's why I said it's not always just because Ben struggles on deep ball accuracy doesn't mean he's not still a good quarterback. Still not a top 15 quarterback. I feel like he's still in there. I just don't feel like when you're talking about your elite guys right now, I need more consistency. I need more of it, and especially on the deeper ball throws. And we did not get that enough this year for him to be viewed in those top 5 categories right now. That's, to me, is the big thing. I understand you're going to feel different. You always say he's your number one guy, and I understand that. But as a whole, when I look at this thing objectively, that's what I see. When I watch him on tape, if I were to just take off the number, take off the name, if I just saw him on a random team, what would I think of him and his arm? What would I think of? And that's what I don't feel like people do when it comes to Ben, because obviously the nostalgia, obviously the fandom, obviously the love you have for him, it always reverts back. But if you literally just took off the uniform, took off everything that says Pittsburgh still is Ben Roethlisberger, and put him on the New York Jets, right? Or you put him on some just random team out in the blue, Detroit Lions, right? Nobody watches them. I don't feel like you would be speaking on him the way you are right now. I don't feel like you will be as optimistic about this deep ball accuracy coming back as you are for him. But because of that connection that you have, and a lot of people have here in Steeler Nation, because of everything he's accomplished, it's hard to not see it that way, because you remember the throws. You remember the toe tap, the tone time. You remember how many fourth quarter drives, the back-to-back 500-yard performances, this 5 and 6 touchdowns. We remember all of those things, and that takes over. But when it comes down to just simply evaluating them, if you strip all of that away and just put him, Stafford, Darnold, all these quarterbacks, and you couldn't tell who was who, right? Everybody just looks the exact same. You couldn't tell black, white, who's tall, who's not. You would not be saying that. You would not be as optimistic about him right now. And that's the point I'm always trying to get across to you, man.
But I think that's what people would have been saying about Brady last year.
And I don't think so. That's all I'm saying. I feel like Brady received the criticism because it was Brady and because New England was struggling. But then remember, it was still a time where the Brady comments went down when they started out hot. That didn't start hopping up until the end of the year. And then more so once they got beat in that last game to Miami and then lost in the wild card, then it really got magnified, right? We really started to hear about Brady and the arm and does he still have it? But prior to that, remember, it was at a point about midway through the year, up until that Baltimore game, realistically. Baltimore, when Baltimore ran them out of there, that's when we started to look at them a little bit differently. But prior to that, we weren't talking about Brady losing it. We were saying, man, the Patriots are the Patriots. They killing everybody again. Here they go, ring them up for another Super Bowl appearance. That's what we were all saying.
But that's what I think almost exactly happened this year, no?
Nah, man.
With 11-0, and then we falter a little bit. Then everyone's questioning Ben, and then it's really hitting home now.
No. I think this was the thing, right? Y'all said at 11-0 once we lost, people started questioning them. I've been talked about this. Most people have been talked about this. And you even came in here and said, you got mad with me and the cons, right? When she had a little analogy. And I said, bro, she's not wrong with the analogy. Just the name of the person that she used set people off. And where did you were mad, right? You had this big monologue, right? And anytime somebody says something, right? And I was simply looking at you, I'm like, bro, they're not lying though. It's just, we don't want to hear that. And then the rebuttal was always, what? We're 11-0. We're 11-0. Ben don't get sacked. Ben ain't throwing no picks. The best Ben has ever looked. What y'all talking about? And then once that rebuttal left and we started to have these tough conversations, it was a total different tune, man.
Well, my thing with her was, the accuracy wasn't there. I think it was. I don't think
she just talked about the deep ball.
No,
she talked about any.
I took it.
Deep throws.
I took it from he couldn't throw deep anymore. Like he couldn't throw long ball
because she compared him to Ben Simmons, and we know Ben Simmons can't shoot threes. Like that's different. The analogy,
the accuracy has been spotty, yes, but I think my main point is I still see the arm talent. So I'm just. It's one of those things. I think it could come back. I think that's really my point.
So what do you think about Sam Darnold? Because he has great arm talent. So do you think he can grow into a Hall of Fame quarterback? Because he has great arm talent. He can make every throw. It's very lively, young.
Well, what about him?
I'm just saying, no, because you keep saying like you see the arm talent in Ben, right? So you keep saying you see the arm talent, right? You see the arm talent. You see the arm talent, and you say I just think he could come back. I'm just asking you with Sam Darnold. He has great arm talent. Do you think he's going to be a great quarterback?
Are we talking about the accuracy?
I'm just saying in general, arm talent. Because with Ben, right? Every time I bring up deep ball accuracy, what do you say? I just see the arm talent. I see the arm talent. I see him making these throws.
I saw a lot of good throws yesterday.
So I'm just asking with Sam Darnold, what's the difference?
I don't. What do you mean by that though?
I'm just saying, like as confident as you are with Ben, right?
Right.
Based on what you saw from him this year, you keep saying the arm talent, right? Overlook the deep ball accuracy issues, but the arm talent is what you keep bringing up. All I'm simply saying is Sam Darnold has great arm talent as well. So do you feel that he can grow into that same level of quarterback as Big Ben? I mean, because you're very optimistic that Ben is going to just magically wake up tomorrow and the deep ball accuracy is going to be there. So I'm just asking, is Sam Darnold magic going to wake up tomorrow and be a great quarterback because he has arm talent? Like,
I mean, he might if he's in the right situation. I don't know, man.
I don't see it either, man. It's cool.
What do you mean? With Darnold or Ben?
No, I'm higher on Darnold, not on Ben. I just don't see it coming back, bro. I don't. I think, man, short to intermediate stuff is fine. I think he can hit an occasional deep ball. That's fine. But an occasional deep ball and short to intermediate accuracy is Phillip Rivers. That's not Aaron Rodgers. That's not Breeze. That's not Brady. Are we viewing Ben as an elite quarterback or are you viewing him as a good quarterback? The difference is the pay. The $41 million cap hit is what separates.
I mean, there's no denial the cap hit, if you could bring that down somehow, helps the team in general. Correct.
That's the biggest thing. If the cap hit isn't there, you keep Ben on the roster. Ben is still a good quarterback. We're not saying he's not a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I still think he should be the leader of this team, but only if that number is altered. Because for that number,
I don't know. Maybe
he's not there right now. I don't think he's getting back to that.
Yeah, maybe I just think that's a given somehow. I think it's just going to work out.
I could dig it.
That's what I'm thinking.
I could dig it, but that's kind of what I was alluding to, and also when I said, man, we're so accustomed to, we've seen them come back from crazy things, right? We've seen them come back from adversity, odds stacked up against them. And we're just like, yo, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. For me, the only reason I don't feel like it will happen is because seeing the full body of work this year, it just showed up too much for me. That's my biggest thing, man. If it was a once or twice thing, if we're talking about turnovers, that's different. But when we're talking about just deep ball accuracy, you either have it or you don't. Like, I don't care about arm shit. Think about Josh Allen. People went crazy on Josh Allen for the first couple years. Crazy arm. It ain't got no accuracy, though. That ain't going to improve. People, man, as much as you believe in there, but that's the thing. I'm like, if anything, people should have been more optimistic about him than Ben. I mean, he has a way livelier arm, way more arm talent, but people were quick to not even consider him. But with Ben, it's like the opposite. It's like, man, no, he can't not have deep ball accuracy. He can't. What? He's always elite. He's always top tier. I'm like, bro, throughout his career, sure. Yes, a large majority of that he was in that top bunch. No question. But at this stage, I feel like you're lying to yourself if you feel like he's there right now. That's just me from an objective standpoint.
Like I said, there's no denial the accuracy hasn't been there completely this year. That's the thing. Is it going to be back next year?
Yeah. You said you think he will. Yeah. I said I think he don't. Either way, that's for y'all to decide though, baby.